Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Commercial Vehicle Business Network podcast. No matter the time of day or where in the world you're joining us from, thank you for being here. I'm your host, Steve Henning, and today we're joined by a true pro in the commercial vehicle ecosystem, Kathryn Schifferle, founder and chief vision officer of Work Truck Solutions. She's helped just about everyone in the space, from dealers to OEMs, from upfitters to buyers of commercial vehicles. She's kind of done it all. Kathryn, thanks for joining us today.
It's a real pleasure to be here today, Steve. And you're right. I'm pretty enthusiastic about it all.
I think pretty enthusiastic undersells that just a little bit, but I would agree with you. You are pretty enthusiastic, most definitely. So we're at the end of 2024, just about to dive into 2025. So I thought it might be appropriate just to spend a few minutes talking about trends. And maybe just a brief, what did you see in 2024? What stood out? And then we'll hop over to 2025 and see if you have any predictions or things you think might be continued themes as we roll. So looking back at this year in retrospect, what stood out to you in terms of the commercial vehicle space and some of the initiatives that maybe you saw from whomever in the ecosystem?
So I think we actually have to start a little bit further back. I mean, let's all agree that roller coaster ride has been tough on dealers, right? And at the same time, maybe celebrate their last couple of years of sugar. So coming out of the lack of inventory last year kind of happened so quickly and without any kind of ability to plan. It was all kind of knee-jerk reaction, and there was a lot of orders placed and a lot of things bought because they just weren't sure.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we all know that in the industry, it's very challenging. One of the reasons why we're there and working on creating data and reports and stuff, it's really difficult to have visibility into what you should be stocking.
Yes.
And so 24 was really a year of the reverse of 21 and 22, too much inventory, and clotted in different places, right? This market had too many vans, but over here maybe they could have used them, right? And no real easy way in the commercial space to even that out.
Yes.
And so that to me has been one of the three really important things that happened in 24.
Okay.
The second one is that the actual salespeople in the dealership, they got out of practice. In fact, some of them did no sales. They just took orders for 2 years.
Fair point.
And so a couple things into that. That's across the whole dealership, so that's a big challenge. But specifically in the commercial space, already it should have been much more consultative because it's B2B, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like a double negative, right? It was like bad. And so, and we're always looking in the spaces at this kind of transition between the old guard and new folks coming in. Mm-hmm. And so combine that all together, and that was kind of rough too. Operations had to start thinking about how they were going to be able to shift back into trained salespeople, consultative mindset. Mm-hmm. Again, in all of these, of course, my back, train that's going on is technology that solves these problems.
Sure.
So the cool thing is, with Work Truck Solutions, we're always looking at what these challenges are, and we're always trying to work, a year ahead. We always kind of see what's coming. Mm-hmm. We did this year release some very interesting features and functions to help with both of those. And then the third thing, which has probably been the most exciting to me because it's the most positive, is that starting a couple years ago when Ford launched Ford Pro, mm-hmm. they drew a line in the sand and said, commercial is important. Commercial is stable. Commercial is profitable.
Yes.
Commercial is an area that we, as a big manufacturer, want to focus on. And what happened is everybody kind of, for the first time, I've been in this space for a long time, Steve. For the first time, everybody kind of sat back and went, oh my God, you're right. Here we've been running around trying to, spend money and wrestle consumers who are very challenging. And we've had this steadiness in the commercial space, which is, by the way, why we could get away with not doing anything about it. But when you stop and you say, where are my opportunities? Right? That's where it is. Stable, higher margin. And, there's this whole now opportunity that the OEMs, Ford kind of started it, but GM launched their GM Envolve very soon after. And this year, late last year, Stellantis launched Stellantis Pro One, One Pro, Pro One. The Ram Pro, of course, is the one that we're the most involved with the concept that businesses need things. And when you look at what they need, it's not just a vehicle.
Correct.
It's what keeps that vehicle running. It's what keeps that vehicle on the road, what keeps the uptime going, what allows them to be focused on their business, not the business of the life cycle of a vehicle. And so we've watched, early on, and to that purpose, we've been diving in, leaning in more with the OEMs on ways to help them with technology to help their dealers, because dealers are now being expected to do more and more.
Sure.
They're expected to understand more products. They're expected to be consultative. They're expected to, understand this broader scope. And they're expected to become experts at commercial. And of course, the one thing that we've learned in the last, guess it's been 17 years now since I started publishing Ford Pros magazine, almost 18. And the one thing is that commercial is totally different than retail.
Yes, it is.
And retail technology has been hyper optimized for how do we help consumers? How do we find consumers? How do we take them through the journey? How do we hold their hands? How do we make colors exciting? All of that. And it is totally different than practical needs that businesses have, where they wake up in the morning and one or two things: their vehicles are running or they're not. And if they're not, they're losing anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a day.
Big dollars.
And the other part of that is they wake up in the morning and their business is growing and they need to add a vehicle because that's the only way they grow their business. So it's really exciting. It's so exciting to be part of this hardworking, salt of the earth backbone of the U.S. economy, and to see the ecosystem in a way that allows us to help connect the dots between the OEMs, the dealers, the upfitters. So my prediction for 2025 is that we will be able to facilitate more transparency and more efficiencies between both the OEMs and the dealers and the upfitters, which will help not only the end buyer, because that's the goal, get the right vehicle, the right truck or van to the right kind of buyer that's exactly for their business at the right time. That's the goal for all of us.
You bet.
Holding hands in 2025, I have lots of really, really positive beliefs. It's going to be, we study a lot the economic predictions. Came from Autovate last week, which is a conference of senior executives in the automotive industry. Glenn Mercer is the top, predictor and economic researcher. We all expect a couple of really stable years. That's not to promise there aren't going to be weird ups and downs, but from an economic perspective, some calmness. That's the time to be a first starter. That's the one thing I would recommend to dealers for 2025 is that they really look around their market. They and by the way, we're happy without any other commitment. Work Truck Solutions is happy to help a dealer take a look around their market and say, what is the opportunity? What kind of market am I in? Am I in, I mean, California is very different than, say, Michigan.
Sure.
Maine is very different than Florida. Every one of those markets has some very unique business types. We understand, well, we're the only ones that seem to care to understand how that maps to the vehicle types and why for the vocations, right? And so we can help and say, in your market, you have a lot of X, Y, not so much Z. And because of that, here's the kind of thing of opportunity that you have, right? And, we have I know that you're familiar with our playbook. We
Yes.
have a playbook that has 7 chapters in it now. I think it is. We've done so many and they're so good. But that's just kind of like a good overview that somebody could, if they're thinking about commercial, or maybe they've been in the commercial business for a little while and they just want like kind of a refresher and say, what am I missing, or how could I come at it differently for 25? Just kind of, it's called a playbook because it talks about things that you could do. It's not everything you should start doing today for your specific situation, right?
Right.
That's something that I know that we can help with, because what we do know is that every dealer is different. And in commercial, that is fantastic. In commercial, you can be unique in your market. You can be a unique provider to unique businesses. And by the way, not only does that mean that businesses buy more vehicles at a higher price, at a better margin, if they're loyal, and they're more loyal once you serve them, you have the door open for financing and service with businesses, which both of them are better. And then guess what? You are working with a business and they like you. How many employees they have that look at that and go, yeah, I could trust them. I think I'm going to go talk to them about a car.
That opportunity just expands and expands.
We hear that from our dealers all the time. We don't have to train them on that. They get that. So,
Kathryn, what do you expect from the OEM specifically in 2025? Do you expect them to continue that focus, to expand their focus on commercial?
Absolutely. And in fact, without being, I guess I'll just say, because this is a public podcast, that we now have, or will have within a very short period of time, like within weeks of launch, all 3 of the major commercial OEMs. We are powering a tier 1 locator. What that means, Steve, is we aggregate inventory from dealers based upon whatever program that OEM has designated to us. We roll up all that inventory and it's available to shop nationally on their tier 1 brand site. So we'll be on all of those. And that's part of, like, once they have all crossed over to recognize that that's important, we think of it as omni-channel. Like, you don't know where the business is going to go first. Are they going to go to the brand site? Are they going to go to the dealer site? Are they going to go to the upfitter site? So we power on each of those. We power the same quality vehicle detail page that has every configuration that it important. I mean, even they're not important. It doesn't matter. Like, electric, whatever. So that a shopper can really, a business buyer can really get down the funnel and know that this is the perfect vehicle for them. And of course, because we have that, we've made it all searchable. So a buyer, I remember we're having our 12th anniversary of our first dealer this month. And I remember right after we launched back then, and I talked to the manager there, I asked him how he felt this was going to change his life. And he said, it already has. My customers can come to my site now and they can shop for what they want. And then they can talk to me about what it is they want to buy it. Right. And that's not possible when all you have is your inventory on your retail listings, because it doesn't get somebody far enough down the funnel. They have to call you. You have to start explaining things. You have to make sure that the lead gets to the right person who understands the vehicles.
Right.
You have to make sure the pricing is correct. I mean, there's so many things that's different in the commercial space, right? So anyway, back to 25. I'm very excited about some of the programs I'm hearing about from my meetings with OEMs on how they're going to continue to elevate and support for dealers.
I think if you're a dealer watching this, that's probably exciting news as well, to know that you've got that support, tool set, et cetera, from the OEMs, but also from Work Truck Solutions.
I think I would say OEMs they have one kind of mindset, right? It's good that they're doing all this. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
We encourage it. We help them think through some of the things that may not be as obvious to them. But you're right, Steve. We're there for the dealer.
Yes.
We're there to talk to the dealer and to help the dealer translate and use and maximize and understand and be successful.
And that's a great mindset. It really comes through, as does your enthusiasm. And it sounds like congratulations are in order. 12 years you mentioned, and the locators for the big three. And thanks for sharing a little bit of your insight about what you think is coming in 25. Look forward to maybe doing another one of these at the end of 2025 to see what shook out and what do we expect for the year after that.
That sounds good. I'd be willing to give you guys an update in maybe the first quarter, because we've got some pretty exciting things going on that I can't talk about right now.
Okay.
Happy, all of course, dealer focused, dealer centric, and happy to share.
Well, let's revisit then. That sounds wonderful.
All right. Thanks
so much, Kathryn.
You bet.